Grand Concourse 149th Street station in the Bronx, graffiti writers gather at what they call the writer's bench.
Take 'em out, bring 'em out, dead, dead. Shot 'em up, shot 'em all, hey, hey. 1 gun, 2 gun, 3 gun, 4. Your mind is all about crime. Onyx.
What's good, what's good, what's good? Live from the writer's bench. I'm your man, Kill. We got my soldiers on deck. We got Bezo, Evan, JP. What's going on, y'all?
Yo, what up?
What up, what up?
All right, no doubt. Yo, this week's show, I don't know if cats, have seen it, but on Mass Appeal, they had did this this joint where they were taking the album covers that were shot outside and using Google Earth and going around to the different places where they were shot at, kind of lining up the album cover with where it was shot at. It looks real dope. So if cats haven't seen it, massappeal.com. I mean, they did Illmatic, they did the Beastie Boys, Check Your Head, EPMD's Unfinished Business, Warren G's Regulate. And it kind of got me thinking about just hip-hop album covers in general, because even by us all being diggers up here, I know for me, an album cover is enough to make me buy a joint, to buy an album if the cover is dope. You know what I mean? I remember being a little shorty and seeing album covers and sometimes remember the album covers more than I remember the actual music. So what we want to do tonight was sit down, chop it up about, our 5 or however many favorite hip-hop album covers they've been, why, inserts, 12 inches, albums, whatever. So we're going to jump right in it. Yo, JP, let's start with you. What was one of your favorite hip-hop album covers?
The first one I'm going to start with, because before I researched and did some other stuff, one came to mind, but it wasn't an album cover. It was a single cover. And the reason why I picked this one is because I specifically remember buying this single in 1987.
Wow.
Uh-oh.
Taking it to a party that I was going to, and the dude who was playing music, he wasn't a real DJ, but he was playing music during the party. I was like, yo, put this joint on. And he was looking at me crazy, and I was like, yo, seriously, it'll rock. So anyway, the single cover I'm talking about is Public Enemy, Gonna Get Yours, My Uzi Ways of Time. Yo, that cover right there, it was so indicative of the time. Like they had the '98 Oldsmobiles, and it was Flavor wasn't looking crazy. His was kind of blurred. He was in all black. He had his hand in his jacket. He had the whole
cast was like,
he was sitting on the car. The lights. So it was such a dope cover, man. Like that's one of my favorites, man. And
Rebel Without a Pause is on that joint, right?
Yeah, it's like 3 singles, but Rebel Without a Pause and My Uzi Weighs a Ton were like the hottest ones on there. Yeah.
Yeah, and the crazy thing I remember about that is because I copped, Yo Bum Rush the Show. I think a lot of people did, thinking Rebel Without a Pause is on there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I remember having to go get that 12-inch just to get that. But like you said, that was an ill cover, man. That was an ill cover, man. It wasn't like no flossiness to it. It was just like them dudes ain't look like they was from Long Island. That was a whole different another type of form of Long Island out there or something. But yeah, that's definitely a dope cover, man. Bezo, what you got up?
It's funny because I actually was going to say that one. As soon as you said 1987, I was like, when you said a single, so 1987, I'm like, that's it. You're going to take it. So I'm going to have to go on my other ones, and I know somebody was going to bring this up, but Midnight Marauders by Tribe, man.
Yeah.
I remember being at Morgan at the time, and I remember when the first time I heard Sucker Niggas was in McKeldin building. I was like coming into McKeldin, it's like that 1 to 11 to 1 where everybody just on the yard. Somebody in the SVA office was playing that joint. And I was like, yo, what the hell is that? And I heard Tip like, oh shit, Sucker Nigga. And everybody that was in there, it was DC cats, Philly cats, New York cats, Jersey. And we was all talking about it. And then when I finally saw the album cover, word is born. I'm sure, Kill, we might have had a conversation about the cover. Because every nigga I knew that was in the hip-hop, you would sit there and go over the faces that's on that joint. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, then they got so-and-so, then Showbiz and AG. That cover, to me, it's like when you can make an album cover that, as dope as the album was, where people are talking about the cover, that obviously says something.
Yeah. Nah. I feel that definitely was one of my joints, because just the fact that they had the idea to do that. You know what I'm saying? And I always loved Tribe because they was always freaking the chick like that. You know what I mean? And just having it in different ways and everything like that. And then, like you said, I don't think it's too many hip hop dudes who wasn't looking at the cover, like trying to name everybody. And you know, you'd be like, oh damn, who's that? Like, oh, that's Chris Paul. And, you know, because so many of those people weren't really people who were out in the forefront either.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that was what was also dope about it. It was almost like a game in itself. Like you said, you got a dope album. And while you listening, you still get to play this game of who can name the most people on the album cover. So that definitely was a dope joint. What you got, bro?
I'm gonna throw one in there because I know it's gonna come up at some point. Smith & Wesson's album cover for The Shining. You know, of course, it was take off the Roy Ayers joint, but you know the way they did, you know, seeing that shit and how it was put together, to me, it was just dope.
Yeah. Nah, that. Damn, I ain't gonna have nothing left by the end of the show. Two of them off the top. You done took Midnight in the Shining. And then the crazy thing about the Shining joint was I remember being over one of our DJs at the station, Little Mike. This dude had records all over the house. I'm in his closet, digging through his closet, and I came across the Roy Ayers, and it blew me but I don't think I was digging, but I wasn't really into digging when the Shining came out like that. So I had no idea it was even a Roy Ayers album. So that like bugged me out even more. It was almost like hearing a sample of something for the first time, not knowing it was a sample.
Right.
I remember looking at the Roy Ayers and being like, oh snap, that's where they got it from. And then going on to see that We Live in Brooklyn is on that album too. And then just the way it was put together. And I don't know if cats can see this, but this is the 12-inch of Home Sweet Home, and this is like the actual cover that was shot before they darkened it out and put the eye in it, like that. But yeah, it was definitely a dope cover, man. Damn, I don't know what I'm gonna go with. Yeah, well, I'll go with this, and it's kind of like a tie. The 12-inch for BDP's My Philosophy, with Chris sitting there. The 12-inch is him sitting there, and you see the poster, By All Means Necessary, in the back, and then also the album cover. Because again, at that time, that had to be 88, 89 maybe, and you know, PE was coming with the black, you know, with the black empowerment and everything like that. But at the time, again, I didn't know that cover was a play on the Malcolm X poster. I didn't know that. You know what I'm saying? So again, to find that out and just how Chris freaked it, that album cover was like, yo, that really still is with me to this day. It's like that's one of them album covers I wish I had in a poster and could just get it framed and just throw it up in the studio and throw it up in the crib somewhere, because that album cover was just bananas to me. So yeah, that joint was crazy. What next you got up, JP?
The next one, I have to go. You know, I have to take it to the hometown. I have to go with Radio by LL. You know, just for the fact of, you know, that album to me. I mean, I love the album, but that album to me, the radio represented hip hop. Like, it was so many dudes around the way that was walking. You know how it was, walking around with those big ass radios in the park or whatever. And I always wanted one of those radios, and I could never get one. I could never get it. I couldn't afford, you know, none of that, man. And so when I saw the album cover, I was like, oh man, this is crazy. And it just reminded me of home and how dudes be in the park blasting their radios and all that stuff. So that's one of my favorite album covers too, Radio.
Yeah, Radio was, man, that same thing, man. I always wanted one, couldn't afford it. And then I know my mom's wouldn't even got me one anyway.
Right, because it got stolen.
Like, unless you was Radio Raheem, you was rolling with 20 dudes.
Right.
You was gonna get robbed walking through the wrong neighborhood with a big radio like that blasted. Yeah. It's like, I don't know any other way you could attract more people than you to have radio. That's like walking in somebody else's neighborhood just like drenched out in gold and herringbones and everything, and four-finger rings back in the 80s. So yeah, moms would never get by. I remember she had a little radio and I sit out on my front steps with it and you know, and all that. But radio was dope, man. That was definitely a dope cover. Ev, what you got, man?
My next joint I got is actually one of my favorite albums, and I love the album cover just as much. Old Dirty, Return of the 36 Chambers.
Yeah.
Stamp joint. And if you ever been to Brooklyn the last 10 years in Bed-Stuy, there's actually a piece somebody redid. Somebody actually basically took that album cover and put it up on a wall. And it's dope. I don't know if it's still up or not, but it used to be up for a while in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. But yeah, that was one of my favorite joints. It just, to me, it was a great depiction of what that album was about. Like you just got Dirty sitting there with just the dirty look, and you know the whole album, you know, just the food stamp joint and shit says Old Dirty Bastard on it. Yeah, man. Yeah, that was one of my joints.
Yeah. The crazy thing about that album for me is I remember being at the radio station. You remember back in the days, they would send you stickers, you know, because for cats who were young, back in the 90s, that was one of the biggest promotional items they had, was just stickers, you know, and you'd go to NY, go wherever, and just see stickers plastered everywhere. And I remember I saw they had the sticker before the album even came out, and we was all at the station just like bugging, like, yo, this dude got the food stamp. Like, yo, you don't get much realer than this. Like, this may be, I may actually still have the joint on my chair. My chair is all stickers, but yeah, man, that was a dope album. Like you said, a good representation of what was to come too. You know what I mean? Like, that was Old Dirty at his finest or whatever. You know, Beezer, what you got next up?
I mean, for my next one, it was really a tie, man, when I was trying to write down 5 between these two. And when I tell you what they are, it may be kind of self-explanatory, but one is The Roots, Things Fall Apart, and Ice Cube's Death Certificate. Part of the reason they were a tie for me was like, you know, I had already come up with 4 other ones, and then it was like, damn, the meaning behind both of them. And remember, I've told you, I've never even purchased a Roots album. But I remember seeing that joint, the CD, in whatever Target or whatever it was back in the day, and that picture, you know, it was like the chick is running from the cops, the 2 women or whatever, the dude and the chick is running from the cops and shit, back in obviously the 60s or whatever. I mean, yo, you don't get too much of that, especially nowadays in hip hop. You know what I'm saying? That awareness of what took place before we was even here, you know, our generation and shit. And then it's like with Ice Cube, he got the toe tag on Uncle Sam with the American flag draped on top of the body. It was just like, those are powerful messages on both of them album covers, man. So, yeah, I know it's like I'm kind of cheating a little bit, but I really couldn't decide between the two of them because I thought that the statement that both of them was making was so powerful that they both deserve mention in case somebody else didn't bring them up.
Yo, the dope thing about the Roots joint is there was actually, I think, 5 different album covers.
Yeah, I remember
that joint. Because the one I got is the one with the cat laid out with the ace card in his hand. You can see like the blood on his hand. So it was like 5. I remember going to, that's when you still had like Tile Records or whatever the other joints was, going there and seeing like all the Roots joints and seeing like mad different album covers, and I was like, yo, that's dope. Yeah. Who knows how much it cost, but it was definitely a dope idea.
Yeah, no doubt. I was one of them dudes. You know me, Philly. You had that joint, the joint Beezer.
That's the one I had. Yeah,
that's the one I said. Yeah, that
joint with the card.
Yeah, that's the one I had. Right.
This joint with the baby.
It was it 3 or was it 5 of them?
5. It was 5. You had this one.
Oh, I forgot about that one.
The baby one was L. That was so L.
This one was 5. This one was probably my favorite, the church joint.
Are those signed by somebody or something?
Oh, no. What used to happen, people, you know how, y'all all know how it was at Morgan. A nigga come through your crib like, yo, let me borrow your album. I give it to him. I'll never see it again. So I used to tag him. That way, I'll be at your crib. I could be at Beezo's crib like, oh, that's my shit right there. Thank you, B.
Where my killer tape, man? Where my killer tape?
You don't want to go to nobody's room like accusing them of stealing your stuff. But this way, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I know you got my stuff. But yeah, I had it.
Every hood had at least one nigga that was known for lifting tapes and CDs out of niggas' cars. Every hood had at least one.
Anybody who went to a black school in the 90s, when CDs was like, people looking at me like, you still got CDs? These things were like gold back in the 90s. So cats would easily come through. And again, not even on no swiping stuff, just like, yo, can I borrow? And then you forget. You know, this way I just tagged them up so that way, you know, you ain't never forget. But yeah, I copped all 5 of them joints. It took me a while to find them all. Like, but yeah, I definitely wanted to do that. But yeah, those were definitely dope joints. The next joint I got up the bat, it's on some Philly stuff. And I don't know how many cats actually saw the original cover. Jazzy Jeff and Fresh Prince's album, the first joint, Rock the House. Now, the first album cover they had, they basically took what Run DMC did for King of Rock. If cats remember the King of Rock album cover, they replicated that album cover. And then I don't know what happened, but then eventually they came out, and I got it on vinyl, but I don't have it on CD because I don't even know if it came out on CD. But that fact that, you know, like I said, it's some Philly stuff. And And like even though that's technically they was biting them dudes, you know, style or whatever with the cover, you know, I still love that joint. But yeah, so that's me. JP, what you got up next?
For me, the next one I got is P Rock and CL Main Ingredient album cover. Not only was it one of my favorite albums, but the cover, I thought it was dope just because, you know, at that time I was just, I mean, well, I started a couple years before, but, you know, I was into, you know, started making beats and all that, and P Rock was one of my heavy influences. And seeing that album cover, like, in the basement, and, you know, Pete's in the background, I think he's looking at maybe a 45 or something. Mm-hmm. CL's in the foreground with the mic in his hand. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like he's concentrating, like getting them lyrics ready. You know what I'm saying? So that album cover represented to me what that album was about. You know what I'm saying? When, you know, sometimes, you know, like we was talking before we started recording, that, you know, sometimes you pick up an album cover, the album's dope, but maybe not the album cover. But this time the album cover matched the dopeness of the album, so that album cover is dope to me. That's something I would hang up on my wall, like, you know what I'm saying? Make a canvas out of it or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's dope. Beezo, I know you got some stories on the basement. I know, I mean,
just being there, I mean, seeing that, the thing I like too inside that joint was you had them like in a diner or a food spot somewhere, and they like sitting up praying and shit. Yeah. But yo, just to add on what JP was saying, I mean, to me that like signified the artistry of them cats, man, because it's like Pete, if you knew Pete from the Vernon, you know this nigga 45s. I mean, I know there's a nigga named the 45 King, but he had more 45s than Pete, my God, yo. I tell you, man, Pete had stacks and stacks and stacks. So seeing that cover was just like, it kind of epitomized them dudes, you know what I mean, in their artistry or whatever, man. So yeah, that shit was dope, man.
Yeah, and as usual, Cass took another joint from me. I ain't gonna have nothing by the end of the show. I gotta keep coming up with more album covers. But I'm like you, Beezo, the joint I had for mine actually was the back of the album cover. Like, that was my vote, because I can remember so many times just literally, like you said, JP, before Cats had equipment and all that, like just staring at the back of this album cover. And they're like just looking at the SP12 and looking like, is that a 4-track? What kind of track machine is that? Like, just what Pete had, like that was just, just looking at the back of this album cover was crazy. And then, like you said, Beezo, for the insert, they had this joint for CL, Pete and CL's Rare Tracks. A lot of remixes. They took the insert of them praying and put them on this, which was, again, like one of my favorite joints. And like I said, it made it on to this joint, which is dope too. So that's dope. What you got next up, Bev?
Damn, well, just a quick sidebar, man. I just realized how much I missed the CD covers, man, and being able to open up and have different images and that insert, man. I really like, you know, this whole MP3 and download it offline. That's cool, but I missed that shit. Yeah, it's really not. It's something missing in the actual art form of it all.
Well, hold tight. Before you even go in, let's talk about that for a second. Like, how much of that, like, I mean, because I feel like this is a huge part of the music that we love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So with it being that, is this new generation missing out on a piece of it? You know, because to a younger kid, they may say, well, what does this have to do with the music? You know, I just need to hear the music. So what are y'all thoughts on that? Do you think this generation is missing out on something because there isn't no cover, there isn't? What you think?
100%. Yes. I mean, you think about it. I'm sorry. Yo, hip-hop, part of hip-hop culture is graffiti, which is artistry, which is a form of artwork, literally. The album covers, and the thing when you brought up, JP, the PE joint, Public Enemy was the first hip-hop group that I can remember that had their faces on the cover of at least a single. Maybe not their album, but a single like that. Right. You didn't see that back in the 80s. So, I mean, just like Ev brought up, and I know because 3 of us produced in Ev UMC, so I'm sure you did it at some point too, especially since we all dig. You can't tell me that we didn't pick up album covers and CD covers and look and see the production credits.
Exactly.
Who the sample was. All of that. You know what I'm saying? Then the artwork, like we said in the beginning, some joints you might, especially when you digging, you'll pick up an album cover just because, this shit gotta have something. I don't even gotta listen to it. It just look crazy. Gotta have something. So yeah, the artistry didn't just end with the music, the content, and all that. It did carry over to the artwork on the album cover, because there was somebody, and the artist at least was supposed to have some input on it. So Yeah, man. It's fucked up though, because for these kids nowadays, it's nothing ventured, nothing earned type shit. Like, they're not gonna realize what they missing out on because they've never had it. But we do. You know what I'm saying? Because that was, like we all would admit, that was a part of our love for hip hop, was going over the album and reading all this shit, the shout outs, you know what I'm saying, all that. Yeah. I remember seeing Morgan in Baltimore on Public Enemy, Wu-Tang's first album, you know what I mean, shouting out EAA and all that. So that shit, it meant something to cats, man. Word up.
I think that, and to piggyback off of you, Bezo, the whole experience of going to the record store, you know what I'm saying, and looking around the store, and you may see, somebody or somebody you don't know, and y'all end up talking about an album you're gonna get and this and that, like that whole experience right there that leads to it, you know what I'm saying, within that record store itself. And you can go online and they give you credits, they add in the JPEGs of the other album cover and all that, but it's just different. This hope is different, you know what I'm saying, grabbing that plastic, paying your money, riding the bus home, anticipating what, the whole album, that whole thing. It's like the whole anticipation now, it's like instant, so the anticipation is not as much anymore, you know what I mean?
And I would actually, to piggyback on both of y'all, man, I would add that I don't think we would have hip-hop the way that we had hip-hop without these visuals.
Right.
I think the fact that you're able to go and see that, to me, that visual was our identity. That let us know what was and what wasn't. Like that let us see, like, oh, this cat is doing what we doing. This is, I can kind of connect to what's happening here because I can see that in my environment. You know what I mean? Just it's so much you can get out of an image alone, and that visual speaks millions. So, end of the day, for us, it wasn't just music.
Right.
It was much more than that. So that's how hip hop came to be as big as it was, because we had those visuals. We was able to see brothers on album covers that looked like us that was doing what we do. And I'm actually from going there, I'm gonna go into my next joint, which is actually this album cover actually is for me, for hip hop. It actually was my first introduction into what hip hop was about, and it's a classic, but. BDP joint, Criminal Minded. The fact that they on the album cover and they both sitting there with 9mm. I remember being as a kid like, what the and to me it was wild because my sister was the one that got me in hip hop because she was older than me, so she got the tape because I wasn't able to get that tape. Right. She got the tape and then she left it in the basement, downstairs in the basement, and I'm walking downstairs. I remember walking past and I was like, this? Like two brothers on a joint with hammers? Like what's this ain't Scarface, this ain't Godfather, this is two brothers on here. So and when I put it in and listened to it, it changed my life. Yeah. So that was my introduction. One of my biggest introductions into hip hop was being able to see that cover and then put it in and then go on that journey. And it just started with the visual. So that was my next joint, not to get off topic. But that was my next joint.
No, that was dope. And I think something that JP said is huge, of just being able to go to your neighborhood record store. Because no matter where you were, you had that neighborhood record store. It don't matter if you was down south, out west. Everybody could tell you their neighborhood record store. So F-Ups, if it wasn't the sound of Germantown or the sound of Market or Funko Mart, when I used to stay in Brooklyn, I used to go to Beach Street. I'd land in Brooklyn in June. My mom's would give me $500 for the whole summer, and that $500 would be spent in my first 3 days in Brooklyn, going down to Albee Square Mall and hitting up Beach Street. So, like you said, JP, just being able to have that, being able to look up at the wall and not even knowing what you want to buy because there's so much dope stuff. Me being a sneakerhead, I miss those days with sneakers. Being able to go into a store and look up at the wall and just be like, God, when am I gonna have money to buy everything you want? So I definitely think that the visuals, we're definitely missing out on something. My next joint, I'm still gonna be on some Philly stuff. Steady B, Let the Hustlers Play. What I loved about this album cover was like these dudes was in the pool hall, you know what I'm saying? Tap Money's in the background, like counting the money. Steady's on the front, you know what I mean? And then they had my joint Serious on there too. So, and they also had another joint that a lot of cats may not have heard was The Undertaker, that KRS. KRS produced the Serious remix, and then he also produced this joint, The Undertaker, and The Undertaker was a banger too. So if cats don't know, Google that, YouTube, Steady B, The Undertaker. That was a dope joint. KRS talking his shit during the chorus and everything. Real dope joint. What you got next up, JP?
The next one I'm gonna go with is I actually got it here. One reason why I love this album so much is because it's mad colorful, and I thought it was dope. Maybe not my favorite album of his, but it was a dope album, and it's Iron Man. You know what I'm saying? Like this.
Yeah, I was gonna say that one too, man.
This joint was so like when I first got it, I was like, yo, these dudes got on some the Wiley's. You know, the Wiley's was crazy. You know, I got Wiley's when I was a kid or whatever, and I was just like, and how they had the Wiley's in different colors, and like one side was one color and one side was the other, and it was just a colorful, bright album, man. Like, and I really appreciated that, man. It was dope to me.
Yeah, it's funny. As soon as you said colorful, I had an idea. I really think that that's how I was like, yo, these colors is popping. Like, this like a Crayola box.
That's what it was, like a fucking box of crayons and shit.
It was like when you said colorful, I'm like, this dude may be in my head because there's a couple. That's probably the only album that I would define as colorful, you know, and in a good way too. Like, yo, the colors to me pop at you before anything. So. Yeah, and then on top of that, it was a crazy album.
Crazy album.
You can't go wrong with that. Beezer, what you got next? Man?
Well, I'm gonna take the easy lane now because some of y'all done took some of my shits to pick the most obvious one, I think, and that's Nas Illmatic, yo.
Thank you. I hope somebody was gonna say it.
Yeah. I mean, what can I say that hasn't already been said about it? The picture of the young boy on the cover. I mean, it was a dope concept. I'm not sure. I don't know if the story behind it, if Nas was the one that came up with the idea. I did hear some stories about the picture of the background, the backdrop of, you know, the hood in Queensbridge. Like they had different shots or whatever. And I forget the story behind why they chose that one. But, I mean, yo, Biggie and Bad Boy bit it off of his first album, you know, when they put the baby on the cover. Don't let anybody get confused and think like that was a coincidence. You know, that's what, I think it was Ghostface said it on the album. They even by Nas album. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I mean, it's Illmatic, and then that cover was Illmatic too, because no hip hop dude was that confident in himself to be putting his baby pictures on. And then had the nerve on the album to say, waving guns and all my baby pictures. It's like, okay, well then you waved it at your damn album, nigga, because that shit was hot.
Yo, you know what? I gotta do a Bezo right now when we talk about this album cover, because I know this was Bezo's favorite album of all time, and I have to say this is my favorite album cover of all time. Even out of my soul, out of my funk, it's just that album cover means so much, just in that image. Right. I gotta put that at my top.
So Illmatic is the dopest album cover ever to you?
For me, it's the dopest album.
I'm with you on that, Ev. I mean, because it's very. I mean, think about it. I'm looking at it right now, and first of all, never mind, he ain't woofing like a motherfucker. Afro was nappy as all hell.
Yeah.
A little young boy Nas got the ill ice grill on with the projects behind him and the parental advisory joint next. It's like
that transparent thing that man, it's so much in the picture.
There's so much in the picture.
The way the street, it kind of like it comes in towards his eyes when you look at the shit. This might be the dopest album cover ever.
The greatest, I think, because it's the greatest dopest album cover to y'all hip hop wise. I think a lot of that has to do with the album itself, because and not take away, but it's like yo, in his mind, the picture represents like him as a little boy growing up in the hood and what goes on through his mind and how the hood affected his mind, and then you hear that in his music. Yes. You know what I'm saying? Lyrically, like you hear it, so it all makes sense. It's a perfect marriage, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I mean, for me, like my neighborhood didn't look like this, but I know exactly why he did what he did. Like it speaks millions, because I'm like, yo, you know, as a child when you come up in your neighborhood, it makes you who you are.
Right.
And I guess by seeing that and knowing it's a hip hop album, I think for me that's the reason why. Like it's the only album that I can connect to in the greatest form. Right. You know, and being an MC and seeing that is like, yo, everything that he saw when he was growing up became what he started to write in his penmanship.
Right.
So it's an incredible picture.
Let me ask you this. Let's say Nas doesn't go with that picture for Illmatic. Do you think you enjoy Illmatic as much?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I think the cover's just like the cherry on top. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if you had any question, like, let's put it this way, Kill, in the basketball terms, like people debating Harden versus Curry.
Right.
It's like it's so close. There's like that one thing. Like for me, I pick Harden because he didn't have nobody for most of the year, while Curry had Thompson and Draymond Green and all those cats.
I got Harden too.
Like that little extra oomph. That's like you can't argue. Like, come on, man. Come on, it's Illmatic, dog.
Right. No, I agree. No, I was just throwing. I don't want no comments. Like I think Illmatic would have been whack without Cup. I was just throwing the question.
I think that's why I said it's even out of my funk, my soul stuff, my jazz. This is my top. My top album cover.
All right, that's dope. That's dope. Ev, what you got next, big?
My next one up, man. I had to search a little bit because a lot of stuff got took, but I'm gonna go with damn. I'm looking at two. I gotta say one. I'm gonna go with my man, Jizza the Genius. You know what I mean? Just I think the album cover, the fact that it's just dope. It's just dope. That's not too much I can really say about it, man. The fact that it was drawn, it's artistic, it's swords, it's soldiers. And then on top of that, this kind of adds to it. I think Kill's about to go grab it. I should have got it when I seen it. They reissued like a chessboard or some shit like that. Kill, is that what you pulling out?
Yeah, I gotta pull out the big dog.
Yeah, man, I should have grabbed that. They did a chat. They actually put one of the inserts. Again, this is the insert.
Nice laminated. It's only like 100 of them made.
Dope.
That's dope.
Definitely joined.
Yeah. But Wu-Tang, man, they really had some real dope album covers.
Yeah.
I don't know whose ideas or whose mind it was coming from, but they had some really good concepts.
Yeah, and the crazy thing about that is I was just like you, but that was the insert. The insert to me was dope. And it goes back to how we're talking about not just the covers, but the inserts. The inserts used to say so much. So like you said, you love the cover. I always love that insert. You know what I'm saying? And again, we're missing that. The next joint I got up is Camp Low Uptown Saturday Night.
That's dope.
We go back and forth on it. I always loved at the end of Good Times when they had that Ernie Hines paint. Like that just takes me back to my childhood of Good Times and that Ernie Hines painting. And then to see, Marvin's I Want You album cover, to see that, and then just their play on it, kind of to me like what y'all was saying about Nas, and I'm in nowhere comparing the two albums, but just seeing that album cover with the 70s blaxploitation feel to it and what Camp Low was going to give you, to me just meshed perfect. So that joint was just, I always loved that album cover. I mean, nowhere as dope as the Ernie Hines, but I definitely felt like it was a dope play on it. What was you going to say about that joint, JP?
Basically the same thing you, like when I first saw it, and it of course, automatically thinking of Good Times or whatever, and the picture. And I was like, yo, these dudes really captured the essence of it. And the fact that it's, actual artwork, like a drawing or whatever, I thought it was dope. And it kind of played into their style. So it made sense. You know what I'm saying? But it was a dope cover. I thought it was a dope cover.
No doubt. What you got next up, JP?
That was my next one. I do have a couple other ones. And I'm going to go back with P-Rock and CL. This was a single cover for Straighten It Out.
Yeah.
And the reason why I like that single cover was because it represented me so much. Like the clothes they was wearing, I think people had the Carhartt, and they had the caps on with that snap up top or whatever. Like, and you would come down, you could unsnap them and bring them down over your ears or whatever. And I think they were sitting on top of a broken down piano. I think it was like they was in a junkyard somewhere, and I thought it was so dope. I always wished it was a T-shirt, because if it was a T-shirt, I would have been bought it or something. So it was just a dope single cover, and it just reminded. It's like, yo, these dudes are just like dudes I hang out with, like they regular dudes, man. And I always appreciated that single.
Yeah, I think P and CL always had dope 12-inch covers. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And then it just keeps coming back to like that being such a huge part of hip hop was seeing those 12-inch covers, you know what I'm saying? Seeing it like, these dudes get a photo shoot for the album cover, and for each 12-inch, it just kept giving you visuals of them, you know what I'm saying? Whereas, like, we don't got that no more, but definitely that's dope. Beezer, what you got up next?
Well, I'm going to take it in another direction. I definitely didn't ever hear not one goddamn song with the album. If I did, it was by mistake. But I can't front. I remember vividly being in the Vernon on 4th Ave, going into the record stop, and seeing this joint and having to pick it up. Ice-T Power.
Yeah.
Son,
That's one of mine. That's one of my joints.
Yo, Ice-T got the Mac 10 behind his back. His man got the pistol grip shotty that he's hiding, doing the front, and Shorty got the thong on. And remember, that's before thongs was out like that. So seeing that shit, like, what, it had to be like 87, some shit like that.
Something like that.
Yo, I can't front. Yo, that made me, at least from that moment, I knew who Ice-T was. Literally, solely because of the album cover. And yes, I was a young cat, so seeing that half naked, exotic Hawaiian, whatever she is, chick, that absolutely did it. But kudos to Ice-T. It was a job well done, my man.
I was gonna say, B, that's on my list too. Darlene, that was her name. Darlene. Like, you take her off that cover, I don't know if I ever heard Ice-T. I mean, I heard Ice-T till New Jack.
I might not know who he is. Word up.
Yeah, I get 6 in the morning all day until I seen her. So yeah, nah, I definitely feel you on that joint. Ev, what you got next up, babe?
I'm running out. I'm gonna go with Wu-Tang Into the 36 Chambers. Only because I thought the album cover was dope. I still don't know what it's all about, but them with the hoods on and the white shit over their face, and they just, it's I don't know who actually is on the cover. I don't know if that's actually any of the cats, if that's RZA or Old Dirty or somebody, or just some cats that actually had the hoods on. But I thought the album cover just kind of stood out. It made me like really, to me, it was a great introduction of Wu-Tang, because when Wu-Tang hit you, when they first came out, everybody was like, who the fuck is these dudes? And then you get the album cover and you're saying the same thing. Well, what the fuck is this?
Right.
So because of that, it's one of the reasons why I really like that album cover.
Right.
It came out of left field.
Yeah, now I got a couple of joints, man. One of my favorite joints, because I never got a chance to do graffiti on a train or no building, but I mean, I had notebooks upon notebooks upon notebooks of graphs. And one of my favorite joints was Just Ice, going back to the old school album cover. And if cats remember that, it was all graffiti. Like, it was all, dude had the big box, my man had the rolling 909 in his hand, and it was all graffiti. And I could remember just, and the thing was, is I wasn't really, and this is no disrespect to whoever did the Just Ice cover. I mean, it's dope, but I don't think it's like some ill graffiti. Like, so I always felt like that's how my style was. So to me, that's why I love that album so much, because I literally could emulate that style to the T. So that was it. And then another joint, because the Graph 2, I don't know, cats, another Philly thing, Schoolie D, all his 12 inches and album covers used to be graffiti. Yes. You know what I'm saying?
Chopped up graffiti, but graffiti nonetheless.
Yeah. So, right. But like all the Schoolie, the Parkside 5-2, like, again, being from Philly, Parkside 5-2 was such a huge song. Gucci Time, all those Schoolie joints were huge in Philly. I don't know how they banged in New York, but in Philly, like, they were like the these are, you talk about the Vernon, like Parkside 5-2 was like a Philadelphia anthem. You know what I'm saying? So those album covers always did me good too. And another joint I had was the Black Steel and the Hour of Chaos 12-inch with PE. And if cats remember it, it had different newspaper clippings about PE all around it. For that joint, which was crazy. So yeah. And then one more PE joint I got. It's a mixture between It Takes a Nation and Night of the Living Bassheads, because we all know It Takes a Nation. The Night of the Living Basshead 12-inch is the same place, but it's shot overhead. So you see everybody. You see Chuck, you see Flavor, you see the S1s, you see Grip. So, yeah, just to play on it, but that was definitely a couple of mine right there. JP, you got any more left?
Nah, I'm done. I'm done.
Done?
Yeah.
You done? What about you, Big?
Yeah, I got a couple. I'm not a huge fan of the dude, but I respect his name in the game at least. Well, Eminem's Relapse album, where it looks like it's one of them pictures that's like a collage of other pictures that are mashed together to make a picture of his face.
Right, yeah.
It's just a dope concept, you know what I mean? It's just, I remember seeing that in the store, and I was like, oh, okay, that should look ill. But, I never bought it. I'm not a big Eminem fan like that. But just the artwork itself, I thought was real dope. And then another Ice Cube one joint, not the America's Most Wanted. Yeah, it's America's Most Wanted. Yeah, that shit. That's the one where he's like I think he's standing there. He got the hat on. You see the Jerry curls still. Jerry curls and shit. Yeah. But he got like 1,000 niggas behind him and shit. You know what I mean? It's like that part of it. You know, again, you know, the timing of it when he was dealing with all that shit from NWA and whatnot, and then it was America with the KKK. You know, it was just it meant a lot, man. It was a real ill concept to me. Word up.
Right. And some of the joints I got left. Again, Wab, you got another one?
Yeah. I gotta shout this one out because I remember seeing this album cover and it really like stood out. Dead Prez. I'm trying to think the name of the album now. Shoot, either their first or their second one. The one with all the kids with the AKs, and they had all the AKs up in the air. I thought that was ill. I don't know where the picture stuff came from, but I thought that was an ill concept for an album cover.
Oh, Let's Get Free. Yeah.
Let's Get Free. Yeah, that's what it is.
Free. Yeah, that's wow. I never seen that until just now. That shit look crazy.
Yeah, it's wow.
Yeah, that joint was dope. One of the joints I got, again, it's the flip side of the 12-inch for Outkast Elevators. And it's this joint right there, if cats can see. You got Big Boy smoking some weed. You got 3000 back there on the MPC 3000. Just seeing their setup. They got the SP 1200 on the joint right there. They got the 3000. Again, man, it was something. To this day, man, I just love looking at equipment, man. I just love seeing drum machines. Like, it's just like that I don't think that'll ever go away from me. You know, I just always, and seeing this at that time, and it was just dope. Just seeing them in the lab, just doing what they got to do was just crazy for me right there. What's up, man?
Yeah, I just remembered, and I know cats, as soon as I say, y'all gonna be like, oh shit, Marley Marl in Control Volume 1, son.
Oh.
Not the cover where he's just sitting there.
Oh, yeah, the back, yeah.
Come on, with Shannon, Kane, G-Rap, Biz, Craig G, Master Ace, Marley on the red carpet outside of Teterboro Airport, stepping off the little joint. Come on, son. Cats wasn't doing it before. Puff was talking about Teterboro and the Jets and all that. Right. Marley was in control, fam. Nobody get it twisted. That shit was dope. I had that joint. I took the record out and put the joint up on my wall like a poster. Like, nah, that picture's too ill. Word up. I gotta have the album and put that shit on the wall like that. That and also Eric B. and Rakim, Paid in Full.
Back
cover when a lot of people don't realize that's G-Rap sitting in there with them.
Yeah.
A lot of cats didn't know that shit. That's G-Rap. And then the little Hispanic dude was this cat, the little wild guard body nigga for back in the day. And even the what was the second album where they sitting on the Bentley or the Rolls?
What joint is G-Rap? Well, I'm looking at the joint now. Where you know what he got on?
Yeah, hold up. Let me pull it up right now. Hold up. I can't remember exactly.
I remember it was G-Rap in there. I remember.
Let's see if I can find the back of the cover here. Somebody got it. Man, there's all pictures of the front of the album. I can't name it off the top of my head, but here we go.
That's it. He's going right to the right. He got a brown leather jacket
like that with the brown leather jacket on, standing next to Rock.
Okay,
that's G-Rap. But like the little light-skinned cat with his hand on Eric B, from what I understand, Eric B's man, the cat, big time hustling nigga. He had the felines on. It's like that picture though. It's like damn. Yeah. And then the front is Paid in Full, and you see the niggas with all the dookie chains on this shit. Yeah. And Eric B got the old Adidas kicks I used to love and shit. Him and it down.
Yeah.
It's just a fly cover, yo.
Crazy about that cover, man. I remember being in spending my summers in Brooklyn and having that, and just literally sitting there with a piece of paper writing down everything I wanted for school, because that was gonna be my first year going to high school. You know what I'm saying? So I remember y'all be getting all the stuff I wasn't gonna get, but I thought in my mind I was gonna get. But looking at the back of that album cover, just being like, oh, the 4-finger ring.
Comes out the brown ballies on this shit.
Yeah, yo, is that hey, Bezo, the cat you talking about, is that the dude 50 Cent?
Which one? The Hispanic dude?
The short dude.
Now, the original 50 Cent from Brooklyn is in that picture. I don't know who he is, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, that Marley joint in that joint was crazy. Another joint for me was, and again, like you, Bezo, never was a big fan of these dudes. The Ghetto Boys, Can't Be Stopped, where you have Bushwick Bill with his eye. Saying right when he shot his eye out. Like, on the Christmas Story joint, like, you'll shoot your eye out type thing. Like, him just coming in with the joint, you know, out. What's up, B?
Yo, I'm looking at this shit. Ev, you right. It says right here, back in '87, Arabian Rockin' Classic debut album paid in full feature. This picture imposing with Fort Greene, Brooklyn's infamous Supreme Magnetic and Kelvin 50 Cent Martin. Above left, that's Supreme. That's the cat talking about the garbite nigga. That's Supreme. But 50 Cent is below right. It's one of them two. It doesn't say which one. I just said below right.
It's the short cat with the red hat on, if I'm not mistaken.
The red hat, yeah. That's crazy. I never knew that. I knew that the other cat was a wild dude, the Hispanic looking nigga. But I didn't know that was the original 50 Cent. That's ill.
Yeah, he was definitely in there. So
that girls, you learn something new every day, yo.
Yeah, so that Bushwick Bill joint was one for me. And then also the Alcoholics, 21 and over. I loved how it was like shot from the refrigerator, from them reaching in to get their 40s or whatever, coming out like that. Like I was like, yo, that's dope how they freaked that coming from the back. And then one of my last joints, KMD's Black Bastards, the cover that got them basically for the most part thrown off Electra. You know what I'm saying? So that was a dope cover too. So, you know, definitely name some dope joints, man. Definitely name some dope joints. And I think one of the most craziest things is, you know, I knew, but I didn't really realize how much album cover art plays into these songs. You know what I'm saying? And how much this generation is missing out on. I mean, to me, the only reason why this backdrop looks dope is because of the album covers. If they was just all 12 inches, just black 12 inches,
right,
which behind me doesn't mean anything. It doesn't say anything. Like you said, JP, it's not colorful or nothing like that. But those albums, you know, really, you know, it like you said, with the icing on the cake and the cherry on top, it kind of just could make a dope album just that much doper. Like I remember when Eric B and Rakim Paid in Full came out, since they didn't have videos, I thought Eric B was actually Rakim. On some old, because he had the cornrows. And I was like, oh, a nigga like Rakim sound like he would have cornrows, I guess. I don't know. But, you know, until I see the video for I Ain't No Joke, I'm like, oh, shit, that ain't him. It's the other dude. Or same thing with Super Lover C and Casanova Run's album cover. I thought Casanova Run was Super Lover C. You know what I'm saying? But that just goes back to a time before you had videos. You know what I'm saying? Now I remember seeing the joint, not Do to James. What was that joint, JP? Because they Queens Astoria niggas. What was that joint? The one they had the video for.
Girls I Got Blocked.
Pump it up for 1, 2. Yeah, Girls I Got Blocked. Then I seen that video and I was like, oh snap, that's Super Lover C and that, okay. You know, but to me, those were the fun times of hip hop, not knowing who was who half the time or whatever like that. And I'll tell you another dope cover that I love, the 12-inch for EPMD, So What You Saying. When they had the scratches like on the sunroof with the world champ, he just won the chip for the DJ competition. He had the belt out. That was an ill cover too, man.
Yo, yeah, and also another one I forgot I was checking out the MC Shan Jane Stop This Crazy Thing. Look up that cover. It's so funny, man.
Yeah, I just saw that joint.
It's just like
wow.
He got the ill look on his face like he's her farmer, pointing at smoking crack, and she pregnant in the hallway. Like, you know what I'm saying?
It's
crazy.
Yeah, no doubt, man. So definitely another dope show, man. Definitely dope album covers, dope conversation. So as always, leave comments. Let us know what y'all favorite album covers are. Let us know, you know, why and what they meant to you and everything like that. YouTube.com/live from the bench. JP, F, Bezo, what's good? You got something else?
I have a question. I meant to bring this up earlier for y'all. Now, we talking about the dopest album covers. Could y'all remember the wackest album covers that you ever seen? I got a few that I don't know the names of them.
Whack.
I hated the cover of Snoop Dogg's album cover, yo. The first.
Yeah. I didn't, but I didn't like it.
I thought that like his kid or somebody did that. I thought like, yo, he must let his nephew draw that shit, because I know that's not no grown ass man artwork, yo. Come on, son.
Now I remember, and the funny thing is, and I mean, we all was at Morgan at the time, and I remember the build up for Snoop's album was so huge. You know, it was like, when is it coming? When is it coming? And then when I saw the artwork, I'm like, damn, like
the whole album sounds better than this shit.
Yeah, it was almost a testament again, like what we were saying about art. Like I was let down initially from the album cover. Like I didn't even pop it in yet, and I was like, damn, all the time for this, like, you know, damn. But whack album covers. What else you got, Bezo? I gotta think.
I mean, all of those Master P, that style. Remember them joints with like, and people started using that same shit for flyers and stuff, the parties, and it was just like, oh, come on, son. Yo, it was so hood, so like extra hood. I'm like, So I love the hood, but come on, fam. I mean, you gotta go out of that shit, my dudes.
And the funniest thing about the is they all used them. Like it was like, it was like this is the cheapest art promotion company we got. We just gonna use the same album.
I didn't understand it, yo. I didn't understand it.
It could be Mystical. It could be Little Turk in them. They all gonna have the same album cover for the most part.
But I did like Outkast. I don't know the name of the album. Y'all probably do, where Dre got the no shirt on and like a do-rag on, pointing, and there's a American flag behind him.
Stankonia.
Okay, that shit, just something about that cover. Yeah. To me, it just epitomized them two niggas and their styles. Like Dre with no shirt on, the bandana, like he got his hair permed or something, and then Big Boy just on some regular hood nigga type of gears or whatever. It like kind of epitomized how them dudes, they styles is on the mic and shit.
And another thing about Stankonia, most niggas don't know they had two covers. They had the joint you talking about being, and they also had this joint.
Yeah, I remember that.
Wow, I never seen that one.
Yeah, I had the other one. Yeah.
They had the two joints. So, yeah, I don't know, JP, F, you got any whack covers, man?
I would have to think about it. I can't.
I gotta think. I mean, I know. I don't want to say it's whack, but I didn't like it, and it's kind of it's. We talked about this being my greatest album cover of all time, but Nas I Am, where they tried to do the same thing with the Egyptian. Nah, man, just leave it alone, man. Leave it alone.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That was like a nigga that they keep running the same joke over and over. Like,
exactly.
And use the same concept again with this King Tut. Come on.
Nah. We're working for it.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy too. And I also want to shout out this book. It's by Mitchell Beasley. You know, hip hop album covers. You know, definitely a dope book to get. I'm a big bookworm, so I gotta start shouting out more the books I'll be reading on it too. We gotta get into stuff. You know, some of
this shit. You put me onto this one right here, Kill.
Oh yeah, hell yeah. Check the Technique. That's it right there, man. That's it. I still haven't even gotten through part 3 yet.
Yeah, I'm about to say I haven't even gotten through this book. I was reading the Ghetto Boys joint. That shit was mad funny, dog.
Yeah, joints is good. So definitely, and here's the next joint of that, which is even thicker than the one Bezo just pulled out. To Check the Technique. Well, this is actually volume 2. That first one was volume 1. The boy Brian Coleman had a book out called Rakim Told Me, which was the first one. Some of those stories made it in the Check the Technique volume 1, but some of them joints you still, if cats can get Rakim Told Me, because a couple of joints didn't make it in, and then this is the second volume, which is kind of like the third joint. But yeah, definitely gotta start shouting out more books. But definitely check them joints out. Like I said, let us know what some of your favorite album covers. And Bezo made a great point, man. I would love to hear about more whack ones, because I think I focused so much on the dope ones and what attracted me to it. But I definitely know it's got to be a lot out there, because there was a lot of whack music in the 90s, so it had to be some whack album covers going right along with it. But as usual, youtube.com/live from the bench. Leave us some comments, subscribe. As always, y'all, good looking out. Keep it live.
True Tip Amplified, that shit was whack.
One of them 50 Cent joints was kind of whack too. The one where he's like super cock diesel busting out of the shirt, like, come on, man.
Yeah, I think that was the Massacre. Like, it was almost like drawn. You was right, B. That Amplified joint was whack, man. That was whack, man.
Yeah, nah.
Yeah. I gotta figure it's gotta be some more whack stuff up here, man.
You're told that what's the album, the Tribe album with Get a Hold on It. The third beat was
that was whack. That was whack.
It was like a weak version of Low End Theory and Midnight Marauders. Like,
yeah, it was almost like the person who drew the first two. They couldn't.
I got it up here. Yeah.
And as far as
going back to the life, I thought it was
life. Yeah, this one.
But going back to the earlier Kill, I mean, think about it.
Nah. Compared to
it was different, you know.
Yeah, it's that same thing. It's
like when the thing moved when you moved it in the light.
Yeah, that's
I remember that. It was better than Love Movement though. The Love Movement to me was whack.
But it just looked like they couldn't afford the original dude who did the artwork, and they just got like their little cousin or Consequence did it to join the group. And he got to do the artwork. He's like, yo, Tip, let me do the artwork. Let me get on the album.
It was better than Love Movement. I don't understand. I don't know what they were thinking about with that album cover.
But it's funny though, because that goes back to your point, man, about like with Illmatic, how it just was the icing on the cake, the cherry on top. If you look at Tribe's album, Low End Theory was a nice was a dope cover too with the chick, you know what I'm saying, with the silhouette and Low End Theory down her back, and then Midnight Marauders, and then when you got Beats, Rhymes, and Life, it was like, it wasn't totally whack. The album itself, the music wasn't totally whack, but it definitely was a letdown from Midnight Marauders and Low End Theory on both levels, between the album cover and the music. Right. So again, it's back to the artistry, man. It is still, it's a part of your total package, man, literally.
Yeah. You know what? Real
quick,
man,
I just seen one. Damn, I forgot about this shit.
Oh, shit.
Fucking Big Daddy Kane. What is that shit called?
The Prince of Darkness.
Darkness, yeah, Prince of Darkness.
Prince of Darkness. What the?
Yo, think about his first two covers. Both Alone Live the Kane, and then the other joint. He got all honey.
No. Yo, it's Taste the Chocolate. Is that Taste the Chocolate?
You talking about when he got a shirt, he got a little twist or whatever.
He got the shit, this Dread Starter kit going or some shit.
Hey, that's my man too. That's my man.
This dude said the Dread Starter kit going.
Like he was at somebody's window.
The dog. Wait
till like an R&B album.
Dreads to fall out and shit, man. Don't come at me with the little baby dreads and shit, dog. Nah, fam. Come on, son. I don't need that from you, Kane. Word up.
Yo, I'm still.
That's when Kane was starting to fall off, though. You know what I mean? And that you pick the album, you look at it like.
Well, you know what, Bezo? Maybe you got a point, man. Maybe the album covers really do bring forth what you're coming with, where your mentality is, especially in the 90s, especially in those days, because it was so important. Maybe not as we go on in life, but at that time, I mean, I'm sure cats was sitting around really talking about what's the album cover gonna look like, just as much as they was picking beats, or picking rhymes and everything. And like you said, you named a lot of joints where cats, started to fall off, and their album cover was kind of representation. It was almost giving you a preview. It was almost like the album cover was the trailer to the movie. You know what I'm saying?
You know what's funny? A quick story. I remember when they took the picture for, damn it, I think it was the single of Overweight Love in the House, and it's like Hev got on a Coca-Cola shirt, sitting on like a milk crate, just like this, with the boys around him. And, it was just so tacky. And I remember Eddie being pissed, like, he hated it. He didn't want them to use that picture. He was mad they were putting on the single and all that. And then I forget what the next album was, but then it was like, okay, they got away from that same style. But it does say something, man. Especially back then, you know what I mean? Because like we all admitted that we looked at that shit as another extension of what we was hearing. You know what I mean? That was the visual, because that's when not everybody had a music video. You know what I mean? For every goddamn song. So you might have got two music videos from a cat, and if you didn't go see him perform, looking at the pictures on the album cover was part of you tying into the artist, kind of like what F said, that even though he wasn't from Queensbridge, you could just tell that's that nigga hood. That's where he's from. This is what the album's about. It represents this dude. Right. So I think it definitely, it's funny, man, as we've gone on, it's like I'm starting to realize more and more how important and how much of a referendum of the cat's music album covers were throughout the 80s and 90s, man.
Right.
It's sad with the kids nowadays, because I will be curious to see these dudes' album covers nowadays, what they would look like if it was still, a big part of the music and shit.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You know what? I got, while we still talking, I got 3 more just looking over at my shelf. Gangstar's Daily Operation.
I was going to say that. I thought about that one. Yeah.
I loved how they had the picture of Malcolm in the back, up from the Guru. This joint, another Philly joint, Cash Money and Marvelous, where the party at? You know what I'm saying? Just like with Scratch, Cash got his belt out on the turntables from after he won the chip. And then this joint is a recent joint, the Freeway Jake 1 album cover, which is a wallet. They freaked it where it's like a wallet, the CD is in there, all the liner notes look like dollar bills.
That's dope, son.
Look like dollar bills. So, if you want to find out who produced what and everything, you gotta salute to Jake 1 for that one, and Rhyme Sayers still come with a lot of dope stuff. As a matter of fact, I know, they not the most loved, but Dilator's last album was dope.
Yo, I was just about to say that. Your boys. That was a nice album cover, yo.
You popped it open, and all the liner notes were on the pictures.
Wow.
They're like
Polaroids and shit.
Yeah, they're all Polaroid pictures.
Now that's what I'm talking about. That shows another level of creativity that you may not get just from the music.
And the ill thing about it is the album is called Directors of Photography. You know what I'm saying? And the Cat Evidence is a big photographer. So like I said, for every song, you got a picture and this explanation of what's on, like who produced it and why they took the picture and everything like that. So Rhyme Sayers, salute to them. They always, Rhyme Sayers, if y'all don't know about them, check them out. They always spend that extra money on having dope album covers, and then just having a nice little piece you can put it back into is dope too. So, all right, any more whack, any more good for the call and judge?
Good, I'm stopped.
I got one more good one, and not a lot of cats was on it though. Was when the Chef, Meth, and Raekwon album, just them three cats. Not a lot of cats know about the joint, but you could. I bought it off of iTunes, and even on iTunes, when you download the digital booklet, it's like a comic book, Kill. And I know you both in the comic books like that, and each one of them is a character, and the whole joint opens up like a gigantic comic. Like remember Marvel Universe when you laid out all the joints, it made a huge poster. Yeah, well, kind of like that on the liner notes, and each one it was like a story with the song and shit. I don't have it because, like I said, I just bought it off from iTunes, but it was dope. I mean, the artwork was dope. It was real on point. And then, just the concept, like, that's when Cass was kind of, getting away from album covers. And I don't know, for some reason, they decided we're going to do this ill concept with this shit. I think they did go on and start doing some comic books for real. So maybe that's why they chose to use it on that shit. But it was dope. It was real dope.
All right, that's dope. That's dope. So another dope app, like we said, youtube.com/live from the bench. Check us out. Leave us some comments. We'll chop it up with y'all next week. All right, y'all.
Peace.
Peace.